part two of my interview with Cary Nelson, he says that when we talk about poverty in higher education, it's not a metaphor.
I was in New York City about a decade ago and meeting with 12 or 15 contingent faculty from different schools to interview them, to talk about the issues, to help me develop some policy statements for the AAUP on contingency. And after the meeting, we had arranged that we would all go out to dinner. And we proceeded on this very strange 2.5-hour journey through the streets of Manhattan, trying to find a restaurant that they could afford. I offered to pay for their meal, but they didn't want that. They felt that, they were faculty members and they should be able as faculty members to pay for a dinner. We finally found an a la carte Chinese cafeteria where most of them could afford to go through the line and just get a bowl of soup, and that was their dinner. It was a contingent faculty member I talked to, two of them in High Plains states, and one of them taught courses at several schools, was still short of money. So on the weekends, she worked in a bookstore in the airport to earn a bit more money. But she felt quite humiliated when students passed through the airport, came into the bookstore, and there was their teacher serving as a clerk in an airport bookstore. A perfectly dignified job, but not exactly a professorial identity. And then I talked to another contingent faculty member, another High Plains state, who had several children, and whose wife didn't work, was taking care of the children. And given all of that, he was eligible for federal food handouts. So he would go down to wherever it was that periodically, once a week or something like that, they would hand out free cheese to people who had some kind of ID card that they were eligible for the handouts. So here he was, a faculty member again, supposedly with some kind of intellectual authority, in a food handout line. To conduct their professional life in a consistent and responsible manner. That their professional life shouldn't intersect with public embarrassment over and over and over again. And you have to ask yourself what it means to have your identity, your fundamental identity, your job commitments intersect with embarrassment on a regular basis. I mean, people usually work to avoid that sort of thing on a continuous basis on their lives, but many contingent faculty simply have it structured into their existence. There is no avoiding it. Their professional lives are compromised. And then they either have a choice of kind of hiding that from their students or disclosing it, admitting to their students who they are, being frank to their students about the sort of compromised teacher that they have. But that doesn't always help with their authority in the classroom. So there's a price to pay, in fact, for letting your students know in a fundamental way who you are. Whereas if who you are is a faculty member primarily, and that's it, and that's your job, and you're not working at the bookstore, and you're not collecting food stamps, and you're not doing a lot of other things that suggest that you're a failure, that you're among the ineffective poor, that makes a huge difference in your life. Some of our local CB chapters have enforceable contract provisions that say no more than X percentage of our classes can be taught by contingent faculty. And on a local campus, that's the best possible thing to do, to negotiate that with the administration, to get it written in a contract that has legal force, and you really can make a decisive difference locally. But of course, many faculties aren't organized for collective bargaining. That doesn't mean that a faculty senate or an AAUP chapter, if it was strong enough, couldn't still negotiate with an administration and reach an agreement on an issue like that. So local work encouraged by the national is one component. Last year, November 2006, just about a year ago, we of course issued our number 13 of our recommended institutional regulations that really established grounds for a much higher degree of job security and due process for contingent faculty. And that was really an historic agreement for us, worked out between Committee A and the Contingent Committee, and I think it's a really fine, carefully reasoned document. Frankly, the next step is enforcement. The next step is to take on the cases of contingent faculty that are particularly egregious and pursue those institutions to make those faculty members whole and then publicize the effort. I think that's the next step is going to be even harder, but we're very much interested in, we've started doing it, really going out and looking to defend individual contingent faculty so as to make general statements to the country by doing so. If you find the right case, you pursue it relentlessly, and then you publicize the process, you can begin to change the climate in which contingent faculty are treated.